Yo, what's up, everyone? Jordan Bates here. Just felt like it's about time for me to start speaking about my experiences with 5-MeO DMT, um, the God molecule, as it's sometimes called. I've spoken about this once or twice, mentioned it in passing here and there. Um, I don't think this will be a comprehensive video. I just want to lay out some of my initial thoughts, or the thoughts that come to the forefront most rapidly when I tune into this particular medicine. So I've had quite a few experiences with this medicine by now. It appeared in my reality, came into my reality for the first time in late 2020 in the form of Bufo alvarius, which is like the form of it that comes directly from a toad, the Colorado River toad. And I'll just dive right into it by saying that in my experience, there is no more powerful medicine, psychedelic medicine, or really no more powerful tool, period, that I'm aware of that mankind has access to for rapidly understanding what all of non-duality, all of the historical enlightenment teachings, really all of the great mystical teachings, all of the great teachings of liberation of the ages, all of the teachings about directly realizing God, directly experientially knowing what God is. If you want to know what all such teachings and stories are about, um, there's no more powerful way that I'm aware of than through the use of 5-MeO DMT. And a disclaimer that I should put in here, I think, near the beginning is that this is really not a medicine for the faint of heart. This is not a dilettante's medicine, not something to do if you're just messing around or just kind of out of idle curiosity, like, oh, I think I might just want to try psychedelics. Let's just see what this one does. Strongly do not recommend that. I don't recommend that really with any psychedelic. I would only recommend 5-MeO for advanced mystics, like seekers and practitioners who've already progressed quite far on the path of realization, or very sincere very sincere seekers of truth who might not have progressed as far, might not feel like they directly know God in their own experience, but they feel in their heart a very sincere calling to know the truth, to know God, and they feel a resonance, a calling with this particular medicine. They feel like this is a medicine for them that they are called to experience. Because what this medicine does basically is, and it varies from person to person. I've heard different accounts, so you can't completely generalize. But based on my direct experience and based on a lot of what I've heard and read about it, this medicine very reliably occasions total dissolution type experiences, basically death type experiences, and not just ego death, the classically termed death of the separate self, where you just realize it's all one. This goes beyond that. you could call it a universe death, death of all of creation. Um, at high enough doses, basically, it really doesn't even have to be that high of a dose. Even like a medium dose or a relatively small dose could do the trick for a lot of people. But at a high enough dose, very rapidly within seconds of ingesting this medicine, um, like literally you'll smoke it and you'll lean back, and by the time your head hits the pillow, you will feel a massive influx of energy occurring, and you'll feel your reality rapidly dissolving. Like everything you've ever known, your entire world, everything you ever thought you were, everything you love, every reference point, every aspect of what makes you you, at least from your mental perspective or your mental story about yourself, is going to rapidly be sort of set on fire by the energy of this medicine. And it's almost like a black hole opens up and starts to swallow you, starts to just not only swallow you, but swallow the whole world. Um, and so this is why I say the medicine's not for the faint of heart. And also, it's no joke. If a person is not ready to let go, this can be a particularly brutal medicine. Any psychedelic, if you don't let go, if you resist the medicine, can be very challenging. My observation and research suggests that 5-MeO may be more challenging than other medicines in this respect. It's really hard to say. I don't know, but I have, yeah, seen accounts of people having extraordinarily difficult experiences, because basically if you don't let go, if you can't let go, then you're going to be sort of in like what feels like a life or death struggle with this kind of black hole that's trying to swallow up you and your entire world, and you're going to feel like you're dying, and you're going to be like clawing at the floor trying to not be sucked into the black hole. And yeah, that's just not going to be fun. Um, but if you are able to let go, essentially what happens is that within about 10 or 15 seconds, your entire world gets swallowed up by this black hole, and you are basically teleported directly to what you could call naked source energy. There are no words for this stuff. Um, there's different there's different ways that this can look. Like there are endless ways that God can appear to God, and God never appears to itself twice in the same way per se. So basically, yeah, what I can say is that this moment now that you're currently experiencing, that you're currently looking at in your experience, is nothing other than God. This is absolute reality right here. There is only one reality, so what else would it be? This is God. God is all that you are ever experiencing. But we can't uh, easily see that, most of us, because there's so many layers of definitions and identifications and stories about all of the phenomena, all of the forms appearing in this world that we're used to, and we fixate on that content, and we have so many stories about that content that we miss the forest for the trees. We don't see the kind of mysterious energy presence that this actually is at all times. So when you go to a more naked form of source, it basically strips away everything that you've, it strips away all forms, all, all stories, all identifications, attachments, and definitions temporarily, and takes you to a space where you don't really exist anymore, um, in the typical fashion. There's still awareness because, um, yeah, awareness is a good term for God itself. But basically, you go to a much more primordial, a much more naked form of God, which allows you to see more clearly what God is and to realize that there is only this indivisible, unified, mysterious, infinitely intelligent, loving energy presence at all times. That is the only thing that you're ever experiencing. That's the only thing that there is. Your experience now in this moment actually entirely consists of this mysterious energy presence of God experiencing itself through the portal of your apparent humanness. Um, but everything is already made of God, everything's already made of this mysterious energy presence. But again, we can't see that, most of us. There's a veil created by our many layers of conceptual fabrication and identification and such. And so, yeah, basically, 5-MeO DMT just strips all of that away. It also melts, it doesn't take you to like astral worlds and worlds of other celestial entities and stuff like that, or like hell realms, like ayahuasca or something can sometimes do. Ayahuasca is often called the spirit molecule. It tends to be uh, more often in those kind of astral planes. It tends to still stay within creation, but Bufo basically will dissolve all of creation or take you to sort of like the most naked or most primordial form of creation, sort of like naked source energy prior to it arranging itself in the elaborate form of creation. And it's impossible to describe what this is like, um, but you could say it's like the most brilliant, unimaginable light that you've ever experienced. This light is just pure love, and that's all that there is. And sometimes you might see the most exquisite, kind of subtle, geometrical, celestial, fractal diamond patterns, subtly like um, fluctuating, dancing within this light. But the light is all there is. Um, yeah, again, this can take different forms. It's very astounding, very mysterious. It's also at one point seemed to take me to what I would describe as a space of pre-vibratory stillness. If you imagine just like the most pristine looking glass without a single like speck of dust on it, or like the most pristinely calm pond without a single ripple. Um, that's kind of a metaphor for what this was like. It was basically just like a space, yeah, with no movement whatsoever, no energy whatsoever. So this felt like it was even a more naked form of source, even prior to any of the self luminosity of source appearing, any of the energy that source generates, or that is effortlessly radiated by source by virtue of its nature. Prior to any of that energy even appearing, there is just this pre-vibratory stillness that you could say is like the most naked or most restful form of source. I wouldn't say that it's more absolute than this moment now. Like I said, this moment now is absolute reality. There is only one reality. Every moment is absolute reality. And yet, source can appear to itself in infinite different ways. And many of those ways are much more costumed than others. There's many more like layers of apparent qualities and apparent beings and apparent this or that layered over top the most naked expression of source, which is, you know, basically just like space or air, like almost like a space. This space was like almost not even really aware of itself. It was just like the most primordial innocence, the most primordial peace, utterly and completely at peace with itself, almost just like just taking an eternal nap, an eternal hibernation kind of thing. So yeah, it can take you to places like that. You know, it's all going to depend on like what you are karmically ready for, just like anything in life, what you're ready to experience. God will only ever give you what you are now ready to experience. Um, yeah, another astonishing experience with it was this time when, yeah, again, it kind of took me to like the naked light of creation, sort of like the energy of which creation is made in its most like naked form. I mean, this almost felt beyond that. This almost felt like it took me to something like in between utterly like naked pre-vibratory source, in between that and the energy of creation. It just kind of, I almost feel like I went into just the pure power and intelligence of source. I was just in this space of the most unfathomable light, power, intelligence, like far, far outstripping anything I could have ever fathomed, just like infinitely far beyond anything I could have ever fathomed or imagined might exist. This was just like absolutely unimaginable. Um, and yeah, who knows, that it could be that, yeah, I don't know how it fits in exactly with my kind of model of the mechanics of creation emerging from this pre-vibratory stillness, but whatever the case, it was basically just a raw demonstration of the infinite power of source. And what was so preposterous about it, so utterly and astoundingly, jaw-droppingly, unsayably immaculate about it, and just mind-shattering, like total mindfuck, was I was in this realm of pure power, light, intelligence, far, far, far beyond anything I could have ever fathomed. And then, this is impossible to explain, but it's almost like I got an impression. The intelligence that was there gave me this impression of kind of in a rabbit hole, like a fractal rabbit hole upward, like above where I was at. There was no, there is no above or below in a dimension like this. There is no reference point. But somehow I was given this kind of impression of a fractaling rabbit hole of further layers of this infinitude of power, light, intelligence. It was like showing me that there were still infinite orders of magnitude of additional power, light, intelligence beyond what I was currently experiencing, what beyond the level I was at, that each, like, it was just infinities upon infinities all the way, just like never-ending infinities of ever more completely unsayable, completely just gargantuan, uh, utterly astonishing levels of power, light, intelligence. It was, whew, it was utterly humbling and just completely like, are you kidding me? Like this was already where I was already at. Felt like it was just ultimate power, light, intelligence, and it was showing me no, this goes infinitely deeper than this. This goes infinitely farther than this. There are infinite additional orders of magnitude of this. It just keeps going. And I was just like, whoa, holy fuck. Like a major message that came out of that one was like, infinite intelligence has no finish line, infinite mystery has no finish line. Stop looking for some kind of final state or some kind of final, um, yeah, some kind of final state or deepest essence where you can be like, okay, I've seen it. This was the absolute of the absolutes. That was like God's deepest essence. I've seen God's deepest essence now. I know God in its deepest essence. It was just like, no, no, you don't, and you never will. So stop looking for that. Just like realize that infinite intelligence is now, infinite mystery is now, absolute power, love, intelligence is now. That's what this is. That's what this always is. And it goes so far beyond anything you could ever dream of. Anything you could ever dream of. It's just, you know, yeah. And then it was kind of later, and this is still ongoing integration where I'm really integrating the recognition of like this now being absolute reality, because there was a time where I was kind of looking for the absolute and feeling like, oh, take me to the absolute. I want to experience the absolute. Um, and yeah, I've gradually been shown that this now is the absolute always, and that, yeah, there is no, but this is always just opening to more of itself. It is the absolute. Paradoxically, this is the absolute. This is absolute reality. Every scene contains the whole. This is the whole of God right here, right now. Like your present consciousness is the whole of absolute reality. And it's also both neither, far beyond either. It's also not that, because God is just perpetually opening to more of itself, opening to more and more of itself, and it just keeps going on forever beyond this human lifetime in ways that are just completely unsayable. Kind of reminds me of this one time with ayahuasca where I actually had an experience that was kind of like a precursor to my later 5-MeO experiences. And ayahuasca, I was just feeling so much power, energy, intelligence, presence with the ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca was like, if I kept turning up the knob of this infinite energy, this infinite power, your human body would just burst into flames if I turned it past a certain point. So it was basically saying like, yeah, there are certain constraints of your nervous system, of your human body, around the extent to which you can presently experience the full extent of your God nature, your infinite God power. And yeah, so that's my current sense, is like it just keeps going forever. Endlessness is the destination. Unresolvability is the destination. Um, this is the absolute now. There is only one reality, so of course this is absolute reality. Reality itself is enlightenment. It is pure intelligence. So it is just reality is just constantly perfectly um, functioning at all times. It is just the great completion at all times. It is perfectly orchestrating every aspect of itself, perfectly accepting every aspect of itself. That's just always going on. So in that sense, you know, enlightenment is now. We're all already enlightened. Reality simply is enlightenment. That's one definition of enlightenment. Another definition of enlightenment is when you kind of reach that direct realization, recognition that there is no separate self, that nothing is separate, that all of this is pure God mystery, all this is the one divine intelligence, and you that sinks in deeply enough that you're like carrying that forward, that becomes like integrated in your functioning. It's just how you see reality, that it's all you. It's at least becomes like a background knowingness that you can kind of access most anytime you want. And that's kind of, and then that integrates deeper and deeper and kind of opens your heart as you realize more and more, like, wow, like what that really means. Like, wow, everything is me. You know, how would you act toward people if you knew that every person was you, and that you couldn't do anything to another person without also doing it to yourself? You know, once you, the more you integrate that, that's kind of like one trajectory of enlightenment. But yeah, I think just reaching that place of abiding non-dual awareness, abiding oneness awareness, that's a stage that has been classically viewed as like a key point of enlightenment or awakening historically. Um, so in a real sense, you can say that people who are beyond that point are enlightened, although, you know, of course, no person is actually enlightened. It's just that reality itself has like recognized itself through the aperture of that person to a certain extent, like remembered, noticed what it actually is again. And then beyond that, there seems to be just like these endless additional depths of enlightenment and God realization that are just endless. Basically, there is just an infinitude of possible depth for God to just keep opening to God, knowing more and more of God, knowing more and more and more of God, deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, in that sense, you can really only say that God itself, the totality, the groundless ground, everything and nothing, the Tao source, whatever you want to call it, is the only one that is fully enlightened. God in its totality, that is full enlightenment. Um, and all aspects of God, all beings are basically on the path of returning to that wholeness of God's full enlightenment. But the really crazy thing is that even in God's infinite power, infinite wisdom, infinite love, infinite intelligence, infinite enlightenment, full enlightenment, this is really the kicker here. Even in all that, my current seeing and sensing is that God still does not know what God is. That's kind of that seems to be like one of the craziest aspects of this whole thing to me, is that the mystery remains a mystery to itself in the most fundamental sense. The mystery can see itself very clearly, very omnisciently. Past a certain point, it can see very clearly that it is infinity, it is eternity, it is infinite power, love, intelligence. Um, these are all like aspects of it, or aspects of how it presents itself to itself. But in its deepest essence, what actually is it? Like, sure, it's loving, sure, it's infinitely intelligent, sure, it is infinitely powerful, but what actually is it? It can't be said, it can't be known. It's if it could know what it was, then knowledge would be a kind of finite idea, even if it was like a hyperdimensional divine idea, far beyond the sort of idea that our human minds could contain. Even if it was an infinite idea in the divine mind, could that really pin down or say what the essence of God is? I don't think so. I think God knows God with an astonishing degree of profundity. And also, I think God's deepest secret remains ever a mystery, even to God. The deepest secret of what God actually most fundamentally is. And since God is everything, really, that's the question of what anything most fundamentally is. We can know a lot about this through direct mystical experience. God obviously knows a lot about this, about what God is capable of, about what naturally radiates from God in the form of infinite loving intelligence. And yet, what is God? Yeah, at least currently to me, the answer seems to be unresolvable, unfindable, unthinkable, inconceivable, even to God. So, yeah, just kind of a koan to play with there. Maybe you hear my daughter in the background making some noise. So yeah, this has gone on for a while. I think that should give a pretty good sense of 5-MeO DMT. Yeah, it's something else entirely. Something else entirely. I've had experiences with that molecule that I've never heard any kind of more conventional teacher of spirituality, non-duality, enlightenment, any mystic speak about that type of experience. I guess it seems theoretically plausible to me that through meditation alone, a person could unlock this type of experience, but I do actually question that. I do actually wonder if that is the case. Because yeah, I've had powerful dissolution experiences through meditation, but nothing as all devouring and then just like all revealing as the 5-MeO experience. Just no, like not close. Um, so yeah, very interesting stuff. It's crazy that this molecule is largely unknown, at least in the form of, yeah, Bufo alvarius until just a few decades ago. Like suddenly we just discovered that this toad has like a direct elevator to God hidden within it. I mean, what a bizarre reality. Feels like a kind of deus ex machina, like a crazy plot twist that God just kind of was like, boop, I'll just drop. I think it's about time to just boop, drop that into the human realm, drop that little Easter egg and let them find that one and uncork a whole other divine winery full of mystery. Um, yeah, it's just utterly astonishing and unsayable. And yeah, perhaps you'll experience it sometime. I think sooner or later we're all destined to experience those realms of God, those realms of consciousness. So, and there's no rush, there's no hurry. Like all is well, all is perfect as it is. So again, only recommended if you feel a very sincere, clear heart calling, because you are a very sincere seeker of truth or God. Um, and yeah, if you find your way to it, let me know how it goes. I'm very curious to hear about others' experiences with this profound medicine, this profound avatar teacher. Thank you for listening. Much peace, much love. Yeah, you're beautiful. Take care, take it easy. Peace.